Like, it takes a bad writer to write something like her boobs boobed boobily. But it takes a really good writer to write her boobs boobed boobily. Because a bad writer writes that because he doesn't have an idea. A good writer writes that because sometimes the boobs do be boobin' boobily. So I came upon an interesting meme today that actually... It's something that...
You came?
Upon, yes. It was Mighty Nut, the mightiest in the realm. Upon an interesting meme with a fun caption. Basically, it was ridiculing how women are written in fiction. And it was like a banter because of SheHulk. Like, when women are written by women, it turns out a SheHulk. When women are written by men, it turns out like a Samus Aran, 2B, and what was the Solid Snake's teacher in Metal Gear Solid 3?
Yeah, fuck.
You know
that
who
person.
I mean. Yeah, you know who I mean. Basically, the thing I want to talk about is the myth that men don't know how to write women. And I don't think that's really the case. I just think that people don't understand how writing works. Where the moments they see like poorly written female characters in some sort of fiction, they don't analyze, okay, is the specific piece of fiction competently written? Like, does it have some holes, some cracks that are obviously noticeable? And secondly, is the character intended to be a fully fleshed out character or just an archetype?
Yeah.
And this is something that not a lot of people take into consideration. Because I think there was I know what it was called specifically. There's something like a feminist standard for writing, where it was basically a checklist of things that a female character shouldn't be if you want her to sound fully fleshed out and human. For example, she shouldn't embody traditional tropes like damsel in distress, for example, because that's too limiting. The second was that she shouldn't base her whole existence around a man, or be dependent on a man, wherever she is in relation to a man. And the third one, I think, was something like it isn't restricted by certain acts or activities. Fourth one was basically that it isn't only for sexual use purposes, objectivization, all of that. And that's fair. I think that's a fair standard. But a lot of people misunderstand, they just don't get certain stories. Like, certain stories require that you have an archetype like that. For example, in the Invincible community, a recent discussion was, arose because I'm sure you already know who I'm talking about, Alan's girlfriend. Where in the comics, Alan's girlfriend is basically like just someone for sex. Like, that's where her whole personality is based on. She's just their character like Alan can bust a nut too. In the TV series, she's now a general in the Alliance of Worlds that's superior to Alan. Which they just pull out of the ass. Like, it feels cheap. Why do I think it feels cheap? Because she still isn't a fully fleshed out character, but now they only just superficially made her seem like she's more fleshed out. While in reality, she's still doing the same damn thing she was doing. Like, she's there to cater to Alan's needs. And this is why I think it's so funny that when people say that, oh, men don't know how to write female characters. It's not that men don't know how to write female characters, it's that certain times female characters have to take certain tropes, have to be certain archetypes. And certain times, the written material is just bad. Like, it takes a bad writer to write something like her boobs boobed boobily. But it takes a really good writer to write her boobs boobed boobily. Because a bad writer writes that because he doesn't have an idea. A good writer writes that because sometimes the boobs do be boobin' boobily. Like, a good writer can portray that situation perfectly. What do you think?
I mean, you mentioned Invincible,
Yeah.
and I love how they tried to portray Ember in the first
Yeah.
season,
Yeah.
which was the most hated character in the show.
Yeah.
And then with the Coalition, I do agree that it's weird how they're trying to make Alan's girlfriend so important to the Coalition, but we only saw her in one episode, I think.
Yeah.
So there's still time for that. What I want to talk more about is what you mentioned earlier: women writing women. Now that's a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
SheHulk, Velma.
Oof.
Do you remember Velma?
Oof. Do I remember it? I wish I didn't.
Right? And then you have shows like, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. You already know what I'm talking about. Always Sunny. The first 2 seasons of Always Sunny, Dee, who's the sister of Dennis, not adoptive child, but like bastard child of the wife of Frank, whatever. She was there to be the voice of reason. And she was a horrible character as a character. And then the creators were like, well, you know what? Well, not the creator. Well, yeah, actually, the creators and the actress who plays Dee, they were like, well, maybe you should stop trying to write me as a woman. Try writing Dee as a person. And then Dee turned into this crazy lunatic that I fucking love, and most of the community that watches Always Sunny in Philadelphia loves. Like, we love our bird. But the moment the male writers, who are Glenn, what's his name? Charlie and Mac, like, they started writing her as an actual person instead of just, oh, she's a female, so let's write her as a female. The improvement was day and night. Like, the change was day and night. And I think that's what needs to happen, because like you said, there's a shit ton of horrible movies, shows that are written by men that have horrible take on women. Like the female characters, I mean. But I truly believe that is because they're trying to write the woman as a woman, and then the man as this certain type of a man, like this certain archetype of a man. Just stop trying to make the woman as a woman. Do what you're doing it as you're doing it with the man. Because in Always Sunny, it worked out wonderfully. What We Do in the Shadows, a show that we both love. You have 2 of the main characters who are women. They're wildly regarded as one of the best characters. Because they're written as people, not as women. Of course, there are some archetypes of traditional movie and series women that they do portray, but those times are shown as a caricature of those movies and series. So I really think that, yes, men are shit at writing women. They really are. But women are far worse. Like, that's just my hot take. And as Charlie would say, we're all gonna go to our hot plates. So,
like, I don't even want to bash on women too much. I just think it's like a difference in how our brain is wired. Because I saw, I think it was in a video essay a while ago, the difference between like the male gaze and the female gaze. As much as I hate those made up terms, like
the gazing shit.
Like I hate those made up terms, but I guess I gotta use them for this analogy. The way we perceive the world is different, and that's really interesting how it manifests in literature, in writing. When men write, they usually describe a scene. When women write, they usually describe how that scene felt. And if you look at like from distance, you'd be like, oh, okay, at least they're describing a scene. But when it's actually being described, it comes out very, very different. Like, of all the authors I've read, I think that the one author that comes the closest to like female writing from outside of print is Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy has a very interesting approach to writing scenes where I know which book it was of his, but like the first 50 pages are spent in a single room.
Yeah.
Just describing everything, and moving off how that felt, how this and that, reminiscing and all that. Like that's the closest. Most male writers I know just describe a scene and move on. They don't regard emotions, because I think that like this is too far fetched for me to say that's for everyone, but men mostly live like, okay, this kind of situation evokes this kind of response in this person, evokes this kind of response in this person. There's not a lot of expectations. So like, here's a scene, interpret it how you wish. That's also why men write poetry more.
How are we gonna go to poetry after this?
We're like, okay, these sort of events are happening. This is probably how you'll feel, or these are the emotions it should evoke. So they describe that. It's a different approach, and it's needed. But you can't expect it to produce the same result. That's the fact.
I mean, it's wonderful that you mentioned poetry, because that was the next thing I was going to talk about. This is an anecdote. I'm not sure how real it is. Probably it isn't, but in like a school, some kids wrote, I don't know how many, like 150 letters to actual poets and writers.
Yeah.
And half of them actually responded.
No, writers. It was if they
writers?
if they purposefully put in symbolic meanings.
Yeah. And they were like, no. It's just there to give beauty to the scene.
Yeah.
It's not to show a different meaning. And that's what I think is the problem. Most people nowadays, men, women, I don't give a shit. Both are horrible at writing today. That's why we don't have good movies anymore.
Yep.
That's just my hot take.
But after the SAG-AFTRA strikes, it gets better.
But I really do think it's because writers stopped using metaphors or whatever symbolic language they can find just to describe the place, the mood. Now they're just trying to show you how you should feel. And that's the problem. Because the moment you tell someone, oh, well, this is because of this and you should feel this way. No. Like, where's the artistic beauty of it? And that is one of the biggest problems, at least according to me, when it comes to writing female characters. Because like you said, when women write women, they really do try to explain everything to you.
Yeah.
And it's just not gonna work.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work. Like, where are the days where you could take a side of of some characters in a movie, maybe the bad guys, maybe the good guys, and you're gonna be like, okay, well, you can justify this by this, this, and this. Yeah. Now it's like, oh no, you're the bad guy. You're the bad guy. And you shouldn't side, like, you as a person shouldn't side with the bad guy. Like, no. That's just how a second grader would write a story. That's literally how a second grader would write a story. Like, I personally despise modern movies, modern series because of that. Where's the fun? I want to agree with some of the bad guys, because some of the time...
The fun comes in the sequel. You have to watch it.
Because some of the time, the bad guys do have a good point. But because of how a movie's written, at the end they're always going to make that character be like the most horrible person ever, so you cannot side with them. But in the past, okay, the bad guy exists, and he's just going by, or she, whatever, they're just going by their ideology. And you can find reasoning to support it. Like, nowadays it's just, oh, well, he killed my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, my dog, and then he took a shit in my toilet and didn't flush. Like, dude, come on!
And he ate the piece of pizza I was saving.
Like, come on!
What are his hobbies? Kicking puppies on the street.
Like, to me that's just silly.
It is.
Like, I don't know, man. I'm done. I'm done.
Here's the thing, when we like joke about it, like, it becomes a good character because it's a joke character. But when people don't joke about it, actually write that kind of character in, it's horrible. It's painful.
Like
makes my soul cry.
Like, if you try to write a character like this, in a sarcastic way, it's gonna work. But when you're trying to put this character as a serious fucking person, like, come on, dude.
Come on.
I don't have, like, I have a lot more to say, but I don't want to say it anymore because this is pissing me off.
Fair enough, fair enough. What do you guys think?
As always, we'll see you next time. Peace.